The standoff between the Kerala government and Governor Arif Mohammad Khan is getting sharper, it's getting shriller with each passing day. Now, the Pinarayi Vijayan-led government has moved an ordinance to remove the governor as Chancellor of one of the universities in the state, the Kalamandalam. And now the indication from the state government is that the governor could be removed as Chancellor from more universities across the state. The governor, on the other hand, he contends that this was the state government which did not follow due process and that he cannot be removed as Chancellor. After all, this is a tradition that has been there from British times. It's not just a tradition that's been there since India became an independent country 70 years ago, but from British times it was always governors who were appointed as chancellors of universities. That is his contention. This is clearly a political face-off between the governor and the state government. And the question is, who is going to blink first in this face-off? And who is it exactly here? Is it the governor or the state that is crossing the Lakshman Rekha? All right, so full panel joining us this evening to talk about this very, very deeply contentious and political issue. John Brittas is Member of Parliament of the Rajya Sabha from the CPIM. He's joining us on the talking point this evening. KJ Alphonse is former Union Minister and Senior Leader of the BJP. Raju P. Nair is a leader of the Congress Party. He'll be joining us in a moment. And Kalishwaram Raj is a lawyer with the Supreme Court. Let me start with you, John Brittas. First things first, what the governor's contention is that due process was not followed while naming these chancellors of universities. He says that the due process is that 3 names have to be forwarded by the state for every vice-chancellor's position, and it's up to the governor to choose from those 3 names. He says this process was not followed. Your response?
Zakka, who appointed these vice-chancellors? The appointment was done by none other than the Chancellor, that is Mr. Arif Mohammad Khan, the Governor of Kerala. Now, there is an issue. Should the UGC regulation prevail or the original statute which constituted this university? So there was a confusion with regard to it. Supreme Court, rightly or wrongly, said that UGC regulation will prevail over that. That is the status of that case. Anyway, the state of Kerala would be going for a review petition in Supreme Court. Now the issue is very simple. The issue is that the governor wants to sabotage the mandate of the people. There is a method in this madness. If we cannot destabilize an opposition-led government, then disrupt it and defame it. So, Mr. Arif Mohammad Khan is bent upon to do the task for the ruling party, that is BJP. Earlier, governorships were something of retirement perk or rehabilitation or reward for unstinted loyalty. Now it is for a hitman's job. I mean, you are appointing somebody as a hitman to sabotage the mandate of the people. The constitutional scheme of things, what is the constitutional morality? Those are voted to power, they would govern the people. The governor wants to tweak that and sabotage that. That is the issue now. Now, as regards the Kalamandalam case, that's a deemed university, and the executive authority, that is the Kerala government, can appoint the chancellor. So there is no lacuna in that. And with regard to the chancellorship, it is not part of the constitutional duty of a governor. That has been bestowed on the governor by the Kerala Assembly. Many states, including Gujarat, I understand, governors are not the chancellors of the university. It is a prerogative of the respective state assemblies. So the state assembly, in its wisdom, can decide that the governor need not be the chancellor. Simple as that. We are following the rule of the law and the constitution. The only issue here is that there is a resounding consensus in the country from 1969 onwards several commissions, including Sarkaria Commission, Poonchi Commission, and the NDA appointed National Committee on the Working of the Indian Constitution, they all said that the governor needs to function as per the aid and advice of the union, the ministry.
Yeah.
That was the sum and substance of the several verdicts from the constitutional benches of the Supreme Court also.
Okay.
Now here is a gentleman who wants to sabotage the system and also to throttle the democracy. That is the issue. And this is not a clash between the Kerala government and the governor. This is a unilateral onslaught on the constitution. So the issue is constitution and governor.
So let me ask KJ Alphonse that what John Brittas is also saying and what the contention of the state government is, that the governor has gone far beyond, this is not just an issue of vice chancellors or chancellorships, this has now become an issue of sabotage. As Mr. Brittas said, he called the governor performing a hitman's role. Is this the way of the governors appointed by the NDA government? Because we're seeing this not just in Kerala, we're seeing this in Tamil Nadu, where again there's a standoff between the governor and the state. We're seeing this in Telangana as well. Is this governors being used to undermine opposition ruled states? That's the contention from the CPIM and from John Brittas. Mr. Alphonse.
Zakka, it's extremely unfortunate what is happening in Kerala. The governor is performing his constitutional duty. Well, if the CPM doesn't like the constitution, which was authored by as distinguished a person as Dr. Ambedkar, let them move the parliament. But John Brittas himself is a member of parliament. Let them move the parliament for changing the constitution of India. As you said initially itself, it's been the tradition, time-honored tradition, that the governor is a chancellor of universities from the British days onwards. For the past many months, many years, we see that the CPM does not want the universities to function autonomously. In fact, I was Principal Secretary Higher Education Kerala. I was on the syndicate of all these universities, and I've seen how communist syndicate members function. The governor has pointed out innumerable number of cases where the relatives of ministers and senior members of the party have been appointed to the universities in teaching jobs, to administrative jobs. Vice chancellors have been appointed who are maybe technically qualified, but otherwise the due process of law has not been followed. John Brittas was right when he said initially the Supreme Court has said that the due process of law must be followed. Now, the first part of what John Brittas said was right, but then second part he goes completely wrong. He says the governor is trying to sabotage constitution, but this is exactly where John Brittas and the entire communist infrastructure is going wrong. He is upholding the constitution. On the 21st of October this year, last month, the Supreme Court has said you may be qualified, but if the due process of law has not been followed, you cannot be appointed. So the Vice Chancellor of Kerala Technological University has been removed. Based on that judgment, the governor has issued notice to 11 Vice Chancellors of universities in Kerala saying, your appointment was not as per what is laid down, as per the regulations which is laid down by the UGC. And the Supreme Court is also very, very clear. John Brittas, there is no doubt on this. The Supreme Court has said, even if in your university legislation this has not been included, if the UGC legislation says that this is the due process of law, the state universities must, the government state universities must adopt that regulation. So it's very, very clear. There is no confusion.
Okay.
So the governor, instead of sabotaging the process, he has been upholding the constitution, especially in the light of the latest judgment of the Supreme Court. So now over the past few months or maybe a couple of years, we see the state government, the communist government not allowing the government to function, the governor to function at all. Every move. In fact, there was an attempt to physically manhandle him, and it happened. And then, of course, I don't know whether the governor can even travel in Kerala safely anymore. It has reached that kind of a stage. It's extremely unfortunate.
All right.
CPM, the communists who speak very loud about Constitution of India, upholding the constitutional values, I think first begin with the state of Kerala. In the state of Kerala, please uphold Constitution.
So let me ask Raju P. Nair of the Congress Party. KJ Alphonse has a point where this whole thing started with the Supreme Court striking down on the appointment of the Vice Chancellor appointed at the Technical University. And then the governor used that as a precedent, saying that if the Supreme Court has struck it down, then the remaining appointments too are questionable because of flouting of due process. If that is the starting point of this whole fracas between the governor and the state government, then what is the position of the Congress party?
Yeah, see, the position of the Congress party, as you said, the BJP government is trying to sabotage the other political parties' governments in every state, using the governor and his machinery. There is no doubt about that, and we fully, the Congress party has a stated position against this kind of unconstitutional methods to sabotage the other governments. But when it comes to the chancellor, the governor's capacity as chancellor, as you said, it did not start from the Technical University Supreme Court judgment. It started much before in Kerala, because it was the Congress who had raised the objection that the many appointments at the universities, including Kannur University, where it is the home district of the CM Pinarayi Vijayan. His person was appointed as the Vice Chancellor of Kannur University. And that appointment was not as per the norms, and we had raised it many times in the assembly also. Now, when this appointment happened, the governor and government were partners in crimes. The governor later, after all these issues, had come out and said that it was under the pressure from the CM that I had appointed Mr. Gopinathan as the Kannur VC. And I now regret. And after regretting and after he accepting that it was an appointment against the rules, he did not expel him from the post.
Okay.
But there were many instances where the government and governor were hand in hand in such appointments, and they had a mutual agreement on all these issues. Now, once the agreement broke, and these two people, the governor and the government, started fighting. I don't fully agree to that fight, but anyways, when these issues happen, it is that at that time that the Technical University judgment from the Supreme Court came.
Correct.
And the Technical University judgment makes it very clear that any appointment which is not as per the UGC regulations, because that was a contention, point of contention in earlier judgments. Now that was cleared, and it was the Supreme Court very clearly said that the UGC regulation will prevail. And after that, the Technical University Vice Chancellor was ousted. Now, what happened is this judgment applies to all other appointments in the entire country, the universities in the entire country. Mm-hmm. Accordingly, these other appointments, which were not held as per the norms, obviously will be challenged in the court, and the governor might have felt that tomorrow if it is challenged in the court, I will have to be there answering to that.
I will go to Kaleshwaram Raj to get a constitutional position, but I want John Britas to first respond to this charge, because I think again this whole thing flared up because the wife of the political secretary to the chief minister got appointed in a position in the Kannur University, and that's where this whole thing triggered. The BJP and the Congress both are saying, well, she may be qualified, but this is a case of nepotism. John Britas.
Regards this appointment of the wife of the political secretary, the private secretary of the CM, that's an individual case that is now under the consideration of the High Court. It's a sub judice matter. Anyway, whether she is qualified or not, the High Court is going to decide about it. Let me just come to the argument of my dear friend Alphonse. He was an MLA in Kerala. He was also a higher education secretary. He never uttered these things when he was upholding his responsibility here. Anyway, nevertheless, now he has a political role to play, and I fully appreciate that he has to do that. See, the Supreme Court judgment, that is under Article 254, that is repugnancy. Suppose there is a state law which is in conflict with the central law, the central law will prevail. We have a legal case now. The question is that a university has been formed by an assembly law, a law passed by the assembly. So a UGC regulation, not the original UGC Act, a UGC regulation, can that supersede the original statute or law passed by the assembly? That's a question. And again, it's not that there was not a panel. The thing is that there were three names. Since the search panel, the members, each of them gave the same name. That was the issue there. Mm-hmm. It's not that you see somebody from outside the purview of the list was brought in and made the vice chancellor. In that case, Alphonse Kannanthalam would have to, explain how the VC of a central university has been appointed. There was a 15-member, committee. The search committee had identified 15 names, but the education department in Delhi appointed the VC of the Central University in Kerala from outside these 15 members. That is the credit of Alphonse Kannanthalam when they talk about Kerala's vice chancellors. Now, as regards the threat to the governor, see, the governor of Kerala has been calling and depicting a person of the stature of Dr. Irfan Habib as a gunda. I think Alphonse has to come out and condemn the so-called mean statements made by the governor. Now, coming to the universities, there are 11, 12 universities which the governor says that the Supreme Court verdict is going to be applied.
Yeah.
See, there are 500 universities. If you go about, the UGC regulation would have been flouted in at least 300 universities across the nation. There could be, change of governors there. Now, I am very glad that you see Alphonse Kannanthalam wants the British era norms here. That means during the British period, the governor used to be the chancellor. Alphonse ji, you are for Atma Nirbhar. You want the British norms? There were governors during the Mughal era. 1935 Government of India Act, there was a governor who was by the Raj, for the Raj, off the Raj. Do you want a governor of that kind here now? Now, see, a chancellorship is something bestowed on the governor. It's not part of his constitutional obligation or duty. It is given by the assembly. That means the Kerala government or Andhra government or Tamil Nadu government. Why is it that the so-called British era norm of chancellorship, which my friend Alphonse Kannanthalam wants to uphold, is not applicable in his model state Gujarat? Why he is not insisting that all the chancellors in Gujarat should be governor?
Okay.
Why is not doing that?
I'll get Alphonse to respond to it.
See, the only issue here is that
I'll get KJ Alphonse to respond to it, but Kalishwaram Raj has been
is
waiting
a
very
scheme of
patiently,
things
Supreme Court lawyer.
They want to up it.
The closest
issue
governor versus government fight that we've seen in recent times was between Mamata Banerjee and Mr. Dhankar, when Mr. Dhankar used to be the governor of West Bengal. And there too, a similar move had been made by the Bengal government to bring a bill to remove the governor as chancellor of the various universities in the state. Are state governments, state assemblies in this case, within their powers to do that? And if they do that, if in the case of Kerala, the state does bring an ordinance or a bill to remove the governor as the chancellor of universities, what sort of precedent, constitutionally speaking, would that set? Kalishwaram Raj.
Yes, as it has already been indicated in this discourse, the power which the governor is exercising is essentially a statutory power as regarding the universities. It is not the constitutional power. Therefore, what is given by the statute, what is given by the legislative assembly to the governor, can also be taken back by the same assembly. The giver of the power can also be will also be empowered to take it back. There is absolutely nothing unconstitutional about it. That is the prerogative of the legislature. And that is what democracy is all about. And that is why what has been done in Bengal is absolutely correct. And now, coming to the Kerala issue, I think there are at least 3 points to be noted. Number one, the government has already expressed its willingness to take back the power and to unseat the governor from the position of the chancellor.
Yes.
The government having done that, then it's a question of propriety also and bona fide also on the part of the governor to apply a judgment in another case to all other persons who are not even parties to that particular case. That is the second point. The judgment cited by the governor is not an inter-party judgment as far as the remaining vice-chancellors are concerned. They were not heard in that matter. They can therefore genuinely raise a contention that you only appointed us, and what are all the mechanisms which you followed are not known to us. This comes to the third point. This takes us to the third point.
Okay.
The third point is that these vice chancellors can say that it was a case of indoor management where the appointing authority, namely the chancellor, chose to have the forums, appointed us, and now he cannot turn back and say that the appointment is void ab initio. So
Okay.
these are contentions which were not germane in the case which is decided by the Supreme Court, but nevertheless are available for the remaining vice chancellors to raise.
To contend. Okay, let me get KJ Alphonse to respond to the point that Britas made earlier about this is a British era tradition. Your government is ostensibly for Atmanirbhar. Why do you want to continue this legacy, this colonial era legacy of having governors as chancellors of universities and states?
Zakka, first of all, he made a personal allegation. What was I doing in the syndicate of these universities when I was Principal Secretary Higher Education? In every syndicate meeting, the communist syndicate members used to gang up and try to do illegal things. And in every meeting used to be a kind of battleground for me in which I used to stand up alone. Because all these Congress syndicate members as well as the communists used to join together for reasons which are, I don't want to explain here. And they would come up with completely crazy things. This is exactly what is happening. So the whole issue of this governor and the government confrontation is regarding the purity of education in Kerala.
I want to leave it at that. Thank you very much, John Britas, KJ Alphonse, Raju P. Nair, and of course, Kalishwaram Raj for joining us.